At various points in the film, we are told that implanting an idea successfully in a subject's mind is more difficult and subtle art than extracting information.
Here's me planting an idea in your head. I say to you, don't think about elephants. What are you thinking about?
Elephants.
Right, but it's not your idea because you know I gave it to you. The subject's mind can always trace the genesis of the idea. True inspiration's impossible to fake.
It's not true.
In order for Inception to take, the subject must believe that the thought originated within himself. To accomplish this, the idea must be introduced in its simplest form to his subconscious, after which it will grow into a fully formed concept in his conscious mind without leaving a trace of its origin.
The subconscious is motivated by emotion, right? Not reason. We need to find a way to translate this into an emotional concept.
How do you translate a business strategy into an emotion?
That's what we're here to figure out, right?
Cobb has misgivings about doing this to Fischer, as doing so will change his destiny, and it is a strong clue that we should consider the parallels between Fischer and Cobb.
You asked me for Inception. I do hope you understand the gravity of that request. Now, the seed that we plant in this man's mind will grow into an idea. This idea will define him. It may come to change everything about him.
There is a parallel between the idea the team wishes to implant in Fischer, namely that he will dissolve his father's energy empire, and the realization that Cobb comes to in the film's climax, namely that his subconscious projection of Mal is not genuine and he must let go of her. This is what Ames had to say about the inception of Robert Fischer.
We need the heir of a major corporation to dissolve his father's empire.
You see, right there you have various political motivations and anti-monopolistic sentiments and so forth, but all of that stuff, it's really at the mercy of your subject's prejudice, you see. And what you have to do is start at the absolute basic.
Which is what?
The relationship with the father.
He does not say the relationship with his father, but rather the relationship with the father. Ames's description of Robert Fischer applies equally well to Cobb. Cobb's children yearn for a relationship with their father, and no amount of political inconvenience in Cobb's life can change that reality. Cobb visits his own father-in-law, Miles, who is very much like a real father to him, and asks for help with the inception.
You're here to corrupt one of my brightest and best.
You know what I'm offering? You have to let them decide for themselves.
Money.
Not just money. You remember. It's the chance to build cathedrals, entire cities, things that never existed, things that couldn't exist in the real world.
So you want me to let someone else follow you into your fantasy?
Even though Miles knows that Cobb's work is illegal and it led to the death of his own daughter, Miles agrees not only to help, but to offer the job to one of his students, Ariadne. Miles' willingness to subject yet another innocent person to Cobb's insanity suggests that he isn't merely taking Cobb's description of the job at face value, and that he may be involved with one or more of the other characters, possibly Arthur, in creating the catharsis Cobb needs.
You. What the hell was all that?
I have it under control.
I'd hate to see you out of control.
We don't have time for...
As with Fischer, the starting point for this catharsis is Cobb's relationship with the father, but in this case, it's the relationship with his wife's father. Miles' acceptance of his daughter's death and forgiveness of Cobb is the template for Cobb's own acceptance and forgiveness of himself. Just as Fischer is given the idea that he does not have to live his life in his father's shadow, so too is Cobb given the idea that he cannot heal his life without truly accepting the death of his wife. Cobb has come to terms with her death on a conscious level, but subconsciously he is still possessed by conflicted emotions. He requires an emotional catharsis, a realization, before he can heal. The key to Cobb's emotional paralysis is presented throughout the film in the form of totems. Totems are personal items that dreamers can use to distinguish reality from constructed dream space. No architect could ever reproduce the details of someone's personal totem because the details are known only to the individual.
I can't let you touch it. That would defeat the purpose. See, only I know the balance and the weight of this particular loaded die. That way, when you look at your totem, you know beyond a doubt that you're not in someone else's dream.
Yet the totem that Cobb uses throughout the film does not work the way Arthur explains totems should. The top he uses is not his own, it is his wife's, so anyone who has had access to her mind would have adequate information to replicate it. Furthermore, Cobb does not use the totem the way the other characters in the film use theirs. He doesn't check the top's weight and spin against the memory of its physical properties, rather he checks to make sure it stops spinning. So anyone who wanted to forge his totem would merely have to make sure that the dream top stops spinning. That a top stops spinning is not proof that it is real. Cobb also reveals the details of the top's operation to Ariadne, breaking the rule that totems must remain personal in order to function. In order to plant the notion of dissolving his father's empire deep in Fischer's subconscious, Cobb's team creates 3 layers of embedded dream worlds. Time moves more and more slowly on each subsequent level. Action is coordinated between levels with a song, Edith Piaf's Non je ne regrette rien, and the soundtrack for each level consists of the music from the previous level slowed down.
It's too soon.
Cobb, do you hear that?
The idea is to secure Fischer's cooperation in the upper layers, so he will implant the idea himself at the lowest layer. But we also see that events in each of these layers play out to guide Cobb to his confrontation with Mal. In the top layer, which takes place in a rainy city, the team discovers that Fischer's subconscious has been hardened against intrusion. His projections are armed killers. Unfortunately for the team, the sedative they've taken is so powerful that anyone who dies in the dream world will not merely wake up, but will be banished to limbo, an unconstructed vast emptiness of time and space within the mind. This development serves not only to increase the stakes for what would otherwise be a relatively consequence-free premise, but also to prepare Cobb for the possibility of confronting Mal in the deep recesses of his mind. At this level of the dream, Mal appears as a runaway train, just as lethal as Fischer's subconscious. When Saito is shot at this level, the team moves on to the next level, a luxury hotel. The time dilation of the lower level will allow Saito to complete the mission and wake up before dying and slipping into limbo. At this level, Cobb runs the Mr. Charles scenario on Fischer.
Who or what is Mr. Charles?
It's a gambit designed to turn Fischer against his own subconscious.
And why don't you approve?
Because it involves telling the Mark that he's dreaming, which involves attracting a lot of attention to us.
Didn't Cobb say nothing to do that?
So now you've noticed how much time Cobb spends doing things he says never to do.
From this, we can infer that for Cobb to believe that letting go of Mal is his own idea, he will have to arrive at that conclusion via a series of self-sabotaging decisions.
This was your job, goddammit! This was your responsibility!
When Cobb secures Fischer's cooperation and the team prepares to enter the lowest level of the dream, Ariadne expresses confusion about what is happening.
Wait, whose subconscious are we going into exactly?
We're going into Fischer's. I told him it was Browning so he'd come be a part of our team. He's gonna help us break into his own subconscious. That's right.
The story has gotten so complex now, with 3 nested timelines running across 3 dreamers. This dialogue is needed to reorient the audience, but it also emphasizes how easy it is to deceive a target under these circumstances, and suggests the possibility that Cobb is the one who is being set up. In the snow level, Ariadne reveals just enough architectural detail to Cobb to allow Mal to intrude, this time in human form. When Mal kills Fischer, Cobb is prepared to give up, but it is Ariadne, who had previously lost track of who was dreaming what, who suggests following Fischer into limbo, where Cobb has his ultimate catharsis.
There will be enough time down there. And we will find him. Okay, as soon as Arthur's music kicks in, just use the defibrillator to revive him. We can give him his own kick down below. Look, you get him in there. As soon as the music ends, you blow up the hospital, and we all ride the kick back up the layers.
In this scene, Ariadne's understanding of the rules of the dream world seems much more complex than it did in the luxury hotel scene. At the climax of the film, Cobb comes to realize that it is Mal herself, and not the top, that is his totem. Cobb's subconscious cannot replicate Mal in her complex human fullness. In rejecting the caricature of Mal his subconscious has used to torment him, Cobb comes to final acceptance of her passing.
I can't imagine you with all your complexity, all your perfection, all your imperfection.
You're right.
Look at you. You're just a shade. You're just a shade of my real wife. And you were the best that I could do, but I'm sorry, you're just not good enough.